Welcome back. So if you're involved in scaling a business or, just trying to figure out modern HR, you've definitely waded into the acronym soup.
Oh, yeah. HRIS, HRMS. Sometimes HCM gets tossed in there, too.
Exactly. And our sources, well, they pretty much confirm what we all suspect, these terms. Vendors use them interchangeably all the time.
Which causes, frankly, a lot of confusion. For buyers, for strategists, it's tricky.
So today, we're going to try and cut through some of that noise. We want to clarify the fundamental differences, functionally speaking, that traditionally separated HRIS from HRMS.
And maybe touch on where that bigger term, HCM, fits in as well.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Right. So, starting points. Simple definitions are key, but we also need to get the scope. HRIS, that's your Human Resource Information System,
Okay.
and HRMS, Human Resource Management System.
Okay.
Now, both of these are digital platforms, right? They manage your workforce using specialized HR apps.
Sounds like why they get mixed up so often.
Exactly, because at a basic level, they both handle employee data. But traditionally, the functional lines were much, much clearer.
Right. But before we dive into those two specifically, you mentioned HCM, Human Capital Management. That sounds bigger.
It is. HCM is generally seen as, well, the umbrella strategy, or maybe the broadest software suite.
Okay.
It definitely includes all the administrative stuff you'd find in an HRIS or HRMS. But the real emphasis for HCM is on high-level strategic functions.
Like what, for example?
Things like succession planning, long-term organizational development, maybe advanced workforce optimization, really aligning employee skills with where the business wants to go long-term.
Okay. So HRIS and HRMS are more about the day-to-day operations.
Kind of the transactional tools, yeah. And HCM is the overarching strategic framework they heat into. It's looking at the big picture, the long game.
That helps frame it. Transactional tools versus decade-long strategy.
Okay.
So let's go back down to that foundation then.
Okay.
HRIS, you hear it called the smallest bundle, maybe the base layer.
That's a perfect description. And HRIS is really designed to get your essential personnel systems digitized and, well, up and running pretty quickly.
And its main job is?
Data management. Pure and simple, at its core. Managing, organizing employee information. Securely, efficiently, ideally, all in one central place. A single source of truth, hopefully.
So what kind of data are we talking about? What are the core functionalities that absolutely scream HRIS?
Well, it really revolves around that employee life cycle and their core records. So definitely personnel tracking, that's managing, demographics, contact details, job roles, who reports to whom.
Benefit enrollment info, too.
Exactly. All that core employee information. Crucially, the HRIS manages the information about the employee.
Right. And I think for most employees, the most visible part is probably that self-service portal. That's a standard HRIS feature, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Employee self-service, ESS. It's huge for efficiency. That's the portal where, you log in, update your address, maybe see pay stubs.
So maybe not process the pay itself, which I guess we'll get to.
Good point. Yes, view pay stubs, use e-signatures for forms, request time off. It empowers the employee, sure, but it also takes a massive admin load off HR.
Makes sense. And then managing how people join and, well, sometimes leave the company. That's in the HRIS too. Like onboarding.
Yes, digital onboarding automation is pretty much table stakes for an HRIS now. It handles the tasks, checklists, the compliance paperwork for new hires, makes that whole entry process smoother.
And on the other side?
Leave and absence management, so tracking PTO balances, vacation requests, sick days, all that, and benefits administration, managing the enrollment for health insurance, 401ks, things like that.
Okay. And shouldn't we mention recruiting tools? Like an ATS.
Good catch, yes. Often an applicant tracking system, or ATS, is bundled in or tightly integrated. It helps manage that whole candidate pipeline, filtering resumes, scheduling interviews, helps streamline finding the talent in the first place.
So the HRIS is basically taking all your core HR operational data, getting it digital, and managing that kind of transactional relationship smoothly. Employee info, time off, benefits.
Precisely. It's the essential transactional and informational hub. It knows who works for you, where they are, their benefits, what their agreed salary is, the core facts.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. So you've got that solid data foundation with the HRS. How does the HRMS, the management system, build on that? What's the step up?
Right. So the HRMS is often described as the all-encompassing solution. It takes everything the HRIS does and then builds significant additional systems on top. systems that handle more complex, heavy-duty operational processing.
And traditionally, there were two really big ones that defined an HRMS, right?
Exactly. Two key systems were the absolute classic identifiers.
Which are payroll processing
Yes, the big one.
and sophisticated time and labor management. This is probably the clearest functional difference, but maybe the source of the most confusion for buyers.
This is where we really need to be crystal clear for you, the listener. The HRIS, remember, manages compensation data. It knows your salary is, say, $80,000 a year or your overtime rate.
It holds the number.
It holds the number. The HRMS, on the other hand, is where you actually do the payroll. You set up direct deposits, it calculates all the fiddly state and federal tax withholdings, it generates the paychecks or direct deposit files,
Issues the actual payment.
issues the payment, and handles the tax filings. Quarterly, annual forms, automatically.
Wow, okay, so the HRMS is managing the actual flow of money and, crucially, the huge regulatory burden that comes with paying people correctly.
Exactly right. That processing piece, it's functionally different, legally different, technically different from just storing the pay rate. It's about compliance with complex, ever-changing labor and tax laws, which frankly is often why an HRMS costs more to implement and license.
Makes sense. And you mentioned time and attendance management working hand in hand with that.
Yes, advanced time and attendance. This lets companies track productivity, clock-ins, clock-outs, project time, whatever's needed. It measures workforce utilization really effectively, which is essential for accurate payroll.
And that data feeds right into the payroll calculations.
Directly into the payroll engine. Ensures accuracy. But it's also useful beyond just getting paid correctly. That data helps optimize workflows, maybe forecast staffing needs. It starts pushing the system a bit towards the strategic side.
What's fascinating here is how the scope broadens out, especially when you talk about global companies. Our sources suggest HRMS is traditionally built for a much larger, potentially international footprint.
Yeah, that global capability is often non-negotiable for big enterprises. And HRMS is designed to let you create, country-specific silos within the main system.
Why that's so critical?
Because employment laws, tax laws, benefits regulations, they differ dramatically from country to country. And HRMS lets you customize workflows, benefit plans, and crucially, payroll management according to those very specific local rules. It offers compliance support that a more basic, maybe locally focused HRIS just wouldn't have built in.
Okay, that makes sense. And connecting this back up, the analytics capabilities also seem like a clear differentiator. An HRS might give you basic dashboards, headcount, maybe simple turnover rates.
Right, some basic reporting.
But HRMS analytics sound like they're geared more towards strategic talent management.
They generally have to be more powerful, yeah. Partly because they're handling much more data, especially transactional payroll and time data, often across different countries or business units. They let you roll up metrics, see workforce costs by branch, by country, by region. That gives leaders a much clearer view of workforce efficiency across the whole organization.
And this is where that term ad hoc reporting comes in, being able to ask your own questions of the data.
Exactly. HRMS systems tend to offer more genuine ad hoc reporting. That means you or your HR analysts can create custom reports on the fly.
Right.
You're not just stuck with pre-built templates. You can slice and dice the data as needed.
Which sounds essential if you're doing things like succession planning, right? Trying to identify future leaders.
Precisely. If you're serious about succession planning, you need to dynamically analyze performance data, training records, mobility potential, maybe compensation trends across thousands of employees globally. That requires the robust data structure and analytical power traditionally found in an HRMS.
And integrations. Does HRMS handle more third-party connections?
Typically, yes. Because it's often sitting in a more complex IT environment in larger companies, it usually supports a wider range of integrations with finance systems, learning platforms, other business tools, and HRIS might aim for just the essential integrations.
Oh, okay, so let me try and summarize the traditional view then. HRIS. It's your essential data hub, manages the employee lifecycle info. HRMS takes all that, then adds the heavy hitters, payroll processing, complex time tracking, global capabilities, and much more powerful analytics for strategic insights.
That's a great summary of the traditional distinction. But, and this is a big but, we absolutely have to talk about the market today because, well, this is why you, the listener, are probably confused in the first place.
Ah, yes, the blurring lines.
The lines are definitely blurring. The functionality of modern HRIS platforms, it's expanding rapidly.
So we're seeing features that maybe 5-10 years ago were strictly HRMS territory now showing up in software labeled HRIS, like maybe more sophisticated analytics or scheduling tools.
Exactly. Deeper analytics, complex scheduling, sometimes even performance management modules, they're getting bundled into newer HRIS packages. And let's be honest, this blurring is often intentional.
Driven by competition, vendors wanting to make their products sound more capable.
Precisely. Vendors want to market their products up the value chain. They might call something an HRMS even if it lacks a true global payroll processing.
What's fascinating here is what's left as the clearest traditional dividing line then, if analytics are blurring.
Well, it's interesting. The clearest distinction, ironically, often still comes back to that full internal payroll processing capability and the genuine global scope, handling compliance across multiple countries. If a vendor calls their system an HRMS, but it can't handle payroll tax complexities in multiple jurisdictions, or it relies entirely on third-party payroll providers, you really need to question that HRMS label.
Okay, this leads directly to the practical advice. For anyone out there trying to choose a system, you can't just assume, oh, we only need basic stuff, so any HRIS will do.
Absolutely not. Nor can you assume any system labeled HRMS is automatically worth a higher price tag if you don't need those specific complex features like global payroll.
So the first step is internal. Define your actual needs.
Clearly, you need to define your requirements really clearly and think beyond today. Where is the organization going? What are your performance management ambitions? Your retention strategies? Do you anticipate needing multi-currency support? Automated tax calculations across many states or countries? Get specific.
You really have to ignore the label, the acronym, and look at the detailed feature list.
You have to. It's a known issue in the industry. Vendors define the scope of their HRIS, HRMS, even HCM offerings very differently. So do your homework. Conduct thorough research. Because, as our sources point out, one vendor's HCM might actually look a lot like another's HRIS and maybe match a third vendor's HRMS.
The name doesn't guarantee the function.
Not anymore. Not reliably. Your job, unfortunately, is to look past the marketing buzzwords. You have to ensure the system you choose, whatever they call it, actually supports your real operational needs and your long-term strategy. Does it connect the day-to-day efficiency with your bigger workforce goals?
So what does this all mean? Let's do a final recap. HRIS. It's that foundational system for employee data, core HR operations like onboarding, benefits info, time off tracking. HRMS traditionally builds on that, adding the complex power of actual payroll processing, sophisticated time management, and the tools needed for global operations, compliance, and deeper workforce analytics.
And it's worth remembering, both of these, HRIS and HRMS, they're key parts of the digital transformation happening in HR. They feed information upwards towards that broader strategic concept of human capital management, the HCM level, which is focused on creating long-term value through your people.
Right. But given that vendors are intentionally blurring these lines, maybe the real challenge for you, the listener, isn't just memorizing the definitions of HRIS and HRMS. Maybe your real challenge is digging into those feature lists, making sure you aren't paying a premium for an HRMS badge when a powerful, modern HRIS actually has everything you need for your specific, maybe local requirements.
That's spot on.
That need for really granular feature-by-feature analysis, that seems like the true complexity in the HR software market you face right now. It forces you, the buyer, to become the expert no matter what the salesperson calls the product.